All right, we got Bryan Amos with Omni Assessments. Bryan, thanks for jumping on.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me. Glad to be
All right.
here.
All right. So I figured most people understand what you do day in and day out, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rapid fire some of these questions to you, and I think based off of that, people will find out exactly how long you've been doing this. So it's
Okay.
sort of like the 10 question game that I play with my kids sometimes. So,
All right.
um, but all right. So due diligence. What is due diligence, and how do you guys typically go about that part of the business?
Well, due diligence is actually a broad thing, right? You can have financial
Yeah.
due diligence and a lot of different kinds of due diligence. What we specialize in is the physical due diligence. What
Okay.
is hidden in the property that you may not know about? It looks good from the outside, but we make sure we turn over those stones and uncover things that maybe you don't know on the surface. So we do the physical due diligence, and we cover all the major systems for multifamily property.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go roof, foundation, termite,
Top to bottom, pest
interior,
control. Yep.
pest. Okay, and then plumbing. I would say are probably the big parking lot, all that type of stuff. Yeah.
Electrical, parking lot.
Electrical. Okay.
So I call it the multifamily top 10, right? So there's 10
Okay.
different categories. And then you have exterior lighting. That's really never a deal breaker. But
Okay.
you have 10 things that either they can break your deal or the lender is going to require it, that we cover for due diligence.
And so, are most people bringing you on for new acquisitions, or do current owners ever have you come out and take a look at a property? Is it mostly new acquisitions?
Right. It's usually the
Okay.
first.
Okay.
I wish
Yeah.
they would,
Okay.
because when we always represent 99% of the time we're with the buyer.
Right. Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
they hire us and we're coming in and investigating things. But some things would be so easy to correct if the seller would have hired us to like take a preview, look at the property, to get it ready for sale. But
Gotcha.
we're usually on the buying side of new acquisitions. Yes.
Okay. So you're saying maybe on dispositions, when before you go to sell, call you guys out there and just do a run through
Yes, if you're
because
thinking
they're
about it
gonna do.
6 months, 3 months ahead of time,
Yeah.
yes, because some easy things to fix that it would help your sale a little bit.
Okay. So you guys go out, do the due diligence. Typically, it might be, I mean, I don't know if you can talk to this, but are you seeing more access agreements where they're allowing people to go up on the roof, go like before people are under contract right now?
So really, it's more experienced buyers get a chance to have an access agreement.
Okay.
Sometimes, and particularly if they've had a working relationship with that buyer, with the seller before,
Okay.
they're more amicable to that. But they're sometimes more cautious to give access agreements because what if their liabilities? Our insurance usually has to be a little bit higher. So I am seeing that, but it's still a challenge, right?
Right. Right.
Access agreements. Still, the normal is you have a signed PSA, and we usually are on site 2 days after, because once you have your signed PSA, purchase and sale agreement, you need 48 hours typically to notify all the residents. Otherwise, you have angry residents
Hmm.
when we're knocking on their door at 9 in the morning. And so we're there right after the PSA. Now, occasionally, I just did one today. We have an access agreement. And so while they're negotiating the PSA.
Right. Okay. Um, so this is probably, I walk a lot of properties, but you walk a lot more properties than me. Or you spend a lot more time on the property.
Yeah.
Any surprises, good or bad, let's say in the last, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, while you're walking properties that maybe let's start with the category of it would have been good to know this ahead of time. Like,
Right.
yeah.
So to speak to, I walked a lot of properties. So we're coming up to our 100,000 units here real
Walked.
close. We're in the 90,000 units that we've walked,
Okay.
a
All
couple
right.
of $1 billion in asset value.
Yeah.
Um, and so since 2009,
Okay. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
14 years, long time.
Yeah.
But so we see lots of surprises actually, and some of the things that we recommend is always scope your sewer lines.
Okay.
So old or new, you think newer property wouldn't have a problem, but newer properties you often had construction debris, or they haven't actually been fully used by a building full of tenants, and
Right.
you find problems that you didn't know were there,
Okay.
because maybe the the builder or one of the tradesmen, flushed something down there they shouldn't have, or debris is in there. So new and old, the biggest surprise maybe plumbing, and then check your roof for proper repairs. If no one likes to go up on the roof,
Yeah.
they're except people like me. I love getting up on the roof. I have no problem with heights, and so but city inspections many times don't get up on the roof. They don't check out if there's ACs up there. So if there's electrical problems, they usually haven't seen them, and so that's a surprise. Anywhere you can't see, that's typically where we see a surprise.
And my buddy James Wilson, he's pretty good with the drone, but
Yep.
you've got a guy on your team who's very good with the drone. Um, is have they gotten to the point where you can just put the drone up there and look at the roof and be able to see stuff, or does the damage have to be pretty bad for you to not have to get
Right.
up there?
So
Um,
I would yeah. So my guy is really skilled and get really close right up to the roof,
right.
but you really can't, even in high definition, see the granule loss or
Okay.
see hail damage
Mm,
until you're actually up there, see it with your own eyes, and then you can feel it as
mm,
well. That's something
okay.
we drones haven't been able to do yet. Touch and
Okay.
feel, maybe one day. They have all these first-person drones that are pretty cool, but it still
So the
takes a person.
damage would have to be pretty bad, right? Just
Yes.
like shingles are gone, you can see that, but
And then you
out
probably
yeah,
can see that from the ground or see it from a distance, but
okay,
it's the finer details that you still need to be up there on the roof or have someone go up there to check it out.
right, okay. So let's talk about maybe some of the CapEx projects. So, let's say somebody, they hire you during your due diligence, they come in, you're like, "Hey, we need these projects to get done." What type of CapEx projects are you guys working on right now? Is it on older properties? Is it newer properties? What's sort of the scope of CapEx that you guys are working on right now?
So mostly older properties, right? We're
Okay.
specialized in renovating older properties. Newer properties have less, repairs. A lot of times, newer properties just need a refreshing of paint,
Okay.
something more superficial. And older properties, we do roofs, exteriors, landings, stairwell, all the major items we cover from a capex standpoint.
Okay. All right. Everybody's expecting sort of this wave of distressed properties. It could be from, an occupancy standpoint. It could be from a physical standpoint. Um, Anything different that you would do on a more distressed property, or when you're out there doing your due diligence? Is there like a, you know, regular due diligence and like
Right.
version 2.0 that is way above, or is it same process? Just go out there and walk all the units. It
I
just might be a little bit rougher.
correct. So we follow a detailed process, and it is the same whether it's a new construction or it's older or it's distressed. What I am seeing, what is different, is that we are starting to pick up in deal flow,
Mhm.
and some of these deals are distressed. And you remember the heyday, James, when you know the market was really rising, and uh, many times if I found a problem, there was no negotiation. Right from the due
Mm,
diligence side, you
sure.
found, hey, the roof's a little shaky,
Yeah.
exterior siding needs some repair. Maybe you can get a concession for this. No concessions
Yeah.
back
You had too
in
much
that
hard
day.
money. You had too much hard money
Yes.
up at the title company,
So
so they were just
let's
gonna
just
take
say concession.
your money. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, my what I've noticed was different is concessions are back.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's very important to check out the property from top to bottom, and that could affect your bottom line. That sellers are negotiating on distressed deals where you have some issues that they haven't been able to take care of, deferred maintenance, and they are retrading. Not that I recommend retrading or as a
Not
business
that I'm a
plan.
spot, not that I'm a sponsor of retrades, but
Exactly, but just it has gotten more activity now. It's you get a little farther uh, in your negotiations than you did a couple of years ago.
yeah, especially I mean, we just talked with Calliser and in that
Mhm.
group, and they're seeing just sort of lighter hard money, less earnest money, but then only half of it due day one, and then half maybe after 30 days after your due diligence, like you talked about. So after doing the due diligence, figuring out, all right, well, the roof needs 50,000, the siding needs another 50,000, plumbing's
Right.
50,000, like stuff that you couldn't have seen beforehand, and just coming back and saying you're the
So
only
one more,
buyer. Yeah, you're the only
right?
buyer. So or there's limited buyers and you're the
One
most
more thing
qualified. Yeah.
that I like to mention, because it's not just the physical conditions. Sometimes we just did a property that the physical condition is not bad, but they hadn't walked all the units.
Mm,
So we're a really strong proponent of walking 100%. I mean, almost everything we can get into. Sometimes we can't make it that 100%, but we found skips and vacant units that the current management, current ownership did not know about.
mm.
So that's a distressed deal. And they had kind of taken their foot off the gas, left the car, is still running,
Yeah, the
and we're
rent the
checking it
rent
out.
the rent roll still has that tenant, but he hasn't paid in 3 months, right? Like that
Yeah,
guy's
so it's
gone.
been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, that
And
guy's
so that's
gone.
something that you see, we find in due diligence that it's good to really check out. And that's what we're seeing a little bit more in distressed deals today.
Yeah, I mean, most of the deals that you're working on, would you say are what, 50 units and bigger, or 30, or you can do small units, big units, in
So
Texas, where
correct.
is most of the stuff you're looking at?
Really trying to increase our capacity where we can do
Okay.
all sizes.
Okay.
It generally makes sense, more 50 units and above,
Okay.
but almost everything is 100 units plus
Okay.
on
100
average.
units plus, and
Yep.
then so
And then
is it
lower than that,
nationwide? Can you go nationwide, or is it mostly Texas,
it's
Florida?
mostly
Where are you?
Texas or
Okay.
Florida.
Okay.
We've done Arkansas. The bigger deals where we are looking to expand. So we'd love to work with you if you have a property that you're looking at and
Okay.
see if we can make it work.
And then, a lot of times people will say, well, the property management company is doing the lease audit and they're just going to have a couple of their guys walk the units. What do you think differentiates you when you're doing the inspection, going out there from maybe another inspector or a property management company? What are some of like the key differentiators?
Right. Besides the nearly 100,000 units we've walked and
Right. Sure.
uh, years in the same field, but we love working with property management companies. So we work with them hand in hand, and
Okay.
so we see things that they don't always see. Right.
Okay.
So we will walk with them. They kind of give us the template of what they're looking for, and then we can carry it out. We provide the manpower to walk all the units with our teams, and we come at it more than just the property management company. Uh, I find I see myself as more of a coordinator of experts. So we will
Right.
bring in the electrician, the roofer, the foundation, the plumber, and all these trades, so that we have real accurate bids that we can then provide to the buyer.
Yeah, you can provide it to the buyer, and then the lender is going to have their inspector come out as
Mhm.
well, and they might say, "Look, we have, we think this is going to be 50,000 or $100,000," and then if you have a more accurate bid, you usually they're looking at 10% of the units, you're looking at 100% of the units. So when you're able to provide that type of detail, then usually the engineer is like, "Oh yeah, yeah, let's go with that bid because that's a lot more
Right.
accurate." Yeah. Um, and then, in terms of anything else that when you're walking these units that general partners maybe should be aware of, maybe they they don't think about when they're walking units out there, maybe on an acquisition right now. anything else that people should be thinking about, or advice for people who are just maybe buying their first or second deal?
Right. One, like, for example, what you may not see in your underwriting is how well the current property is being managed. That you really get a feel for that when you go out on property in your
Mm,
due diligence.
okay.
How organized is the team on site? Because if they're not organized, you have your hands full when you take over the property.
Sure.
They don't have the keys ready. They haven't done a work order in this unit, and so you have angry tenants. That often happens. So these are surprises, maybe for your first time. That it's good to. We love to welcome first-time buyers. At least for the first couple of hours of due diligence. You may not want to stay there for the full time, but you're welcome to come and see it firsthand.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if the last time we were out on due diligence, and the number of units, I haven't walked 100,000 units, but there's definitely, you definitely get a feel for the property. And where I was going with that is, sometimes we'll ask, are there any issues with your unit? And then here you go. Like,
Right. Let me bring out my laundry
yeah,
of
it's
items.
it's
Yes.
there's always something. There's always something. But what you want to hear is, oh no, they were here yesterday and they fixed everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want to hear if you're buying a property. So, any other advice or things you want to cover prior? I know you're going to be at the Old Capital Conference coming up here in 4 or 5 weeks, so people can definitely meet you there live. Anything else that you wanted to cover here today, though?
Well, we're just the tool that you can use for the buyer, right? And we're on your side. And so the lender had, like you mentioned, has their representative, and they're really for the lender,
Sure. Yep.
protecting the lender's interest. We're on your side in your court, and so we'd love to help buyers buy more multifamily deals.
All right. What is the best way for people to reach out to you if they have a question about, their property or a new deal coming up? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, go to our website, theomnigroup.com.
Okay.
That's THEOMNI group.com. And you can submit a question there in our form, or you can just email me at Bryan Amos at theomnigroup.com.
All right. Well, I will see you in 4 or 5 weeks here at the conference. And if anybody else has any questions, definitely go to the website and put in a request and email Brian for him to come out and see your property and give you the good, bad, and the ugly, so that
Right.
you can be prepared out there. So, Brian, thanks for jumping on today, and hope to see you soon.
All right. Thanks, James.
All right. See you, Brian.
Bye.